to World Today. I'm your host Sharmeen Ali. The Foreign Office has confirmed that Prime Minister Imran Khan will be meeting President Trump on the 22nd of July. This is a significant development as the two leaders were sort of at loggerheads a couple of months ago over the issue about terrorism, and now it seems that Pakistan's role in the Afghan peace talks between the US and the Taliban has been acknowledged officially by the US government, and which is why the government of the US invited Prime Minister Imran Khan to meet with President Trump. Now, the second rounds of bilateral talks between the US and the Taliban are taking place right now in Doha, and this is very significant right now as well because rival Afghans are going to be meeting on Sunday, different factions of the Afghans, including members of the existing government who will not be coming in an official capacity but will be coming as individuals to these rounds of talks. So a lot of progress is being made. The US seems to be very eager, and President Trump is very eager to bring this deal to its conclusion before September the 1st and prior to the Afghan elections, which are coming up in September as well. We will be speaking about this with our guests today, who we have some analysts with us today. First of all, I'd like to introduce Sajjad Iqbal Khattak, who's a foreign relations expert. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sajjad Iqbal Khattak Sahab. What I'd like to get into first is the significance of Prime Minister Imran Khan being invited by President Trump to have talks at the moment, a day after the Balochistan Liberation Army was declared a terrorist organization by the US. Some good progress seems to be being made between the US and Pakistan. What would you like to say about that?
Thank you so much for inviting me in the show. Basically, this is a good development, and it must be admitted that the credit goes to the current government in Pakistan, because if you see after the election in the United States, the relation between Pakistan and the United States were not that much good. In fact, they were badly deteriorated, and Donald Trump tweets about Pakistan's role in the Afghan process was very much concerning. But we see that recently Donald Trump and the US administration has, acknowledged Pakistan's role in Afghanistan peace process.
Right.
And the main point of, concern for both the countries at the moment is the Afghan peace process. We have seen previously 6 rounds of negotiations have been so far held in Doha between the Afghan Taliban and the US officials. This is the 7th round which is going on in Doha.
Right.
And basically the United States is fed up of its presence in Afghanistan without any results for the past 2 decades.
Right.
So now the United States wants to withdraw from Afghanistan at any cost, but at the same time the United States wants to have its intelligence presence in Afghanistan so that in future Afghan soil may not be used against the US interests. So this is basically the point, and Pakistan has a leading role in this regard, because it is only the Pakistan which is facilitating the Afghan peace process, and without Pakistan's assistance it would not be possible for the Taliban to move between Doha and Kabul and all those things. So it is indeed a good development between Pakistan and the United States, and it would also, be beneficial for Pakistan in the future. We see that the FATF challenge is there for Pakistan, which is going to be decided in October this year, the FAT of Pakistan. So if the relations between the United States and Pakistan improves, it means that in the future the FATF challenge would be somehow normalized. So it is indeed a good development between the two.
So going forward, what is the US going to expect Pakistan to do further in this deal, in these negotiations?
Basically, you see, the main hurdle at this moment is that the Afghan Taliban are not ready to negotiate with the Afghan government officially. They claim that the government in Kabul is a puppet government of the US, and the main actor between at this time in the dialogue is the US officials and the Afghan Taliban. So the point is that the Pakistani government, you see the recent visit of the Afghan president to Pakistan, it is also one of the, the manifestations of the fact that the Pakistan is trying to bring the Afghan Taliban and the Afghan government closer to each other, so that in the forecast, in the future, after the withdrawal of the United States, the two stakeholders which are going to stay in Afghanistan, so they are going to be, having some kind of future plan for Afghanistan. So Pakistan has a key role in agreeing or inspiring Afghan Taliban to agree on talks with the Afghan government along with their talks with the United States officials.
Right. So, what is Pakistan going to be looking for in these talks with the US, with President Trump? What will Prime Minister Imran Khan be trying to achieve for Pakistan? The previous transactional agreement, arrangement that was going on with the US, was halted by President Trump when he came into power because he was accusing Pakistan of not doing enough to fight terrorism. Are we going to look for a resumption of the prior arrangements that we used to have with the US?
Indeed, it would be a bilateral, negotiations. It would not be a one-sided gains for the US. Of course, Pakistan would be trying to resume all the previous aid which Pakistan was supposedly receiving from the United States. You see, Pakistan has almost lost a huge sum of money in the war on terror, and all that was because of the US presence in Afghanistan. So, of course, but at the other hand, you have already mentioned that the United States has, prior to the meeting of Imran and Trump, they have already declared BLA as an international terror organization. This is one of the fact that Pakistan's stance on international terrorism, which India's involvement in Balochistan has a kind of acknowledged by the United States. So things would go good for Pakistan after this this Trump and Imran meeting, and of course both countries will benefit from this meeting.
Right. We're also joined by Brigadier Tipu Sultan right now, who's a senior analyst. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Sir, what is your take on this? The invitation of President Trump for Prime Minister Imran Khan to visit on July 22nd. What can we expect out of these talks? What is the US going to expect out of Pakistan further? Obviously, they've acknowledged that Pakistan has a very big role in the peace talks going on right now. And what can Prime Minister Imran Khan expect to get back? Any resumption of the previous relationship that we used to have with the US?
Well, he got already something before he went to the United States in the shape of BLA being declared as a terrorist organization. Every international event and a political situation, strategic situation in the region or globally has its implications on the interstate relations. I think BLA was operating from Balochistan since a long time, and the United States did not do that, take this important step which is in favor of Pakistan earlier. I think it stems from the overall regional situation in the Middle East and in the South Asia. No, you cannot now disconnect the situation in the Gulf and the situation in South Asia.
Right.
The American involvement in the Gulf is such that there is a settled Arab Emirates and the kingships on one side,
yes,
and the Persians on the other side, and the American military might presence in the Gulf in the shape of the aircraft carriers and few operational bases that they have in the United Arab Emirates and in Saudi Arabia itself. Plus the situation in Syria where they are confronting the resurgent government of Bashar al-Assad through the support of Soviet Union, and their grand plan for Israel, Trump's son-in-law Kushner saying that they're going to have a deal of the century, and
right,
Iran comes out very prominent in their reckoning over there. Netanyahu wants something from the United States so far as Iran is concerned. Saudi Arabia may be thinking on the same lines,
right,
quite frankly. In South Asia, what is happening is that there are Doha talks going on, and the key element in those talks is the intra-Afghan dialogue between the Taliban and the Kabul government. Where is it going to sit?
right.
The Americans desperately want to get out of
Yes.
Afghanistan.
Right.
That has been said by the US State Department, by the US President himself.
Right.
And,
They've suffered quite large losses in this war, the US has, and as far as financially as well as the military personnel. So now,
Indeed.
And the US also wants to stop fighting, stop going, all the wars that it's been involved in all over the world. They're trying to President Trump's whole policy has been to kind of taper that back.
Yes, many people think that Pakistan has got an important role to play in the Afghan solution thereof. My thinking is that where is it going to settle between the Taliban and the non-Taliban elements, which is the government of Ashraf Ghani,
Yes.
and those people who want to go into elections like Abdullah and Karzai and Mia Noor and Hanif Atmar, who was
Right.
their previous national security advisor and all that.
Because now
I think the US has insinuated that they are going to get out of Afghanistan no matter what. And the government in Kabul is very worried about that. Plus, one would think that whether the Americans would like to really get out of Afghanistan totally before they can settle something about Iran and they stand up. The renegotiations that the Americans want and Rouhani and Ali Khamenei refusing that. Plus, I also think that what could be the demands of the United States on the Pakistani Prime Minister.
Right.
When I think of
Prime Minister Imran Khan has said previously in an interview with the Washington Post in 2018, his exact statement was, I would never want to have a relationship where Pakistan is treated like a hired gun, given money to fight someone else's war.
That
and we
is-
should never put ourselves in this position
That
again.
is the
Right.
key. I would refer this to, that was a more serious situation after 9/11 when I think Rumsfeld had called President Musharraf.
Right.
And all the books that have been written on that, after that incident that Musharraf...
We're going to go to a break now and we'll be right back.